I still remember the day I married Amanda. After 2 years of dating, we finally stood together at the altar, exchanging vows that I believed would bind us for life. Her smile lit up the entire venue as we were pronounced husband and wife. I felt invincible, like nothing could ever touch the happiness we had built together. The future stretched before us, bright with promise and dreams we would fulfill together. Then came that phone call during our honeymoon. I watched her face change as she answered, and something in my gut told me our perfect story was about to unravel. If you are watching this now, let me know where you are from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to join me on this journey of heartbreak and healing. The story of Amanda and me began like something out of a romantic comedy. I was working on my laptop at this little coffee shop downtown when she accidentally spilled her latte all over my keyboard. Instead of getting angry, I found myself mesmerized by her genuine apology and the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled nervously. She insisted on paying for a replacement, and I insisted on taking her to dinner instead. Amanda was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. Smart, creative, with a laugh that could light up even the darkest room. She worked as a freelance graphic designer, creating stunning digital art for various clients. I was a software engineer at a tech company, spending my days coding and problem-solving. Our career paths complemented each other perfectly, both of us understanding the creative and technical aspects of each other's work. Our first date lasted 5 hours. We talked about everything from our childhood dreams to our favorite movies. There was an immediate connection that I had never experienced before. When I walked her to her door that night, the goodbye kiss felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. I have never clicked with someone so quickly, she told me on our third date. It usually takes me months to feel this comfortable with someone. The first 6 months flew by in a whirlwind of happiness. We explored hidden restaurants in the city, took weekend road trips to nearby lakes, and spent lazy Sundays curled up on the couch watching documentaries. I learned more about her past as our relationship deepened. One night, as we shared a bottle of wine on my balcony, Amanda opened up about her previous relationship. I was with Jackson for 5 years, she said, staring into her glass. We broke up about a year before I met you. That is a long time, I remarked. What happened? She sighed. We wanted different things. He was content staying in our hometown, forever working at his family business. I wanted to move to the city, build my career, experience more of life. We tried to compromise, but in the end, we realized we were just delaying the inevitable. Was it hard? I asked, taking her hand. Incredibly, but we ended things on good terms. He is a good man, Charles. We just were not right for each other. She smiled at me, which turned out to be a blessing because it led me to you. I felt immensely grateful that Amanda had already processed her past relationship and healed from it before we met. There were no lingering feelings, no emotional baggage that might interfere with what we were building together. As our relationship approached the 18-month mark, I knew without a doubt that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Amanda. I planned a weekend trip to the Grand Canyon, a place she had always wanted to visit. On the second evening, as the sunset painted the canyon in breathtaking shades of orange and purple, I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. When she finally managed to say yes, I slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple diamond set in white gold that I had picked out with the help of her best friend Natalie. I cannot believe this is happening, Amanda whispered, as I held her close, the vast canyon stretching out before us. I love you so much, Charles. The next 6 months were filled with wedding planning. We decided on a small ceremony with about 80 guests held at a beautiful vineyard just outside the city. Amanda threw herself into every detail, from the flower arrangements to the menu selections. I had never seen her so excited and focused. Our families got along wonderfully. My parents adored Amanda from the first time they met her, and her parents welcomed me into their family with open arms. Even my younger sister Sarah, who was typically skeptical of my girlfriends, gave Amanda her enthusiastic approval. She is the one, bro, Sarah told me at our engagement party. I have never seen you this happy. Natalie, who had known Amanda since college, pulled me aside at the rehearsal dinner. You know, she never looked at Jackson the way she looks at you, she confided. You are truly her person. The wedding day arrived perfect in every way. Amanda was radiant in her dress, and I could barely keep my composure as she walked down the aisle toward me. The ceremony was intimate and personal, with vows we had written ourselves and a reading from my favorite poem. As we were pronounced husband and wife, I felt like the luckiest man alive. We chose a beachfront resort in California for our honeymoon. The first 3 days were pure bliss. We woke up late, had breakfast on our private balcony overlooking the ocean, and spent hours walking along the shore discussing our future together. Amanda wanted to start trying for a baby within a year, and we enthusiastically planned out the nursery for our future child. "I think I want a home office we can convert once the baby comes," I said as we sat on the beach watching the sunset on our third evening. "That way I can work from home some days and help with childcare." Amanda smiled, but it did not quite reach her eyes. She had been checking her phone frequently all day, which was unusual for her, especially on our honeymoon. "Everything okay?" I asked, nodding toward her phone that she was clutching in her hand. "Just some client work," she said quickly. "Nothing urgent." Later that night, I woke up to find her side of the bed empty. A sliver of light shone from beneath the bathroom door, and I could hear her speaking in hushed tones. I caught snippets of the conversation that made me uneasy. "I cannot talk about this now," she whispered. "Yes, I understand. No, you cannot. I need time to think." When she returned to bed, I pretended to be asleep. My mind raced with possibilities, but I pushed away the creeping sense of dread. She probably was just dealing with a demanding client. Nothing to worry about. The shift in Amanda was subtle at first. The morning after that mysterious phone call, she suggested we cut our honeymoon short. "I am not feeling well," she claimed. "Maybe we should head home in a couple of days, instead of staying the full week." I was disappointed but agreed. Her health came first, and we could always plan another trip. But physically, she seemed perfectly fine. It was her demeanor that had changed. She grew distant, often staring out at the ocean with a troubled expression. When I asked what was wrong, she would force a smile and say, "Just tired." On our last evening at the resort, she excused herself 3 times during dinner to take phone calls. Each time she returned looking more distressed. I finally confronted her when we got back to our room. "Amanda, something is clearly wrong. Please talk to me. We are married now. Whatever it is, we can handle it together." She avoided my eyes. "It is just some work stress. A big client with impossible deadlines. Nothing for you to worry about." I wanted to believe her, but my instincts told me there was more to the story. We cut our honeymoon short by 3 days, and flew home the next morning, the tension between us palpable. What should have been a romantic conclusion to our wedding celebration instead felt like the beginning of something troubling. Back at home, Amanda grew even more distant. She spent hours locked in her home office, and when she emerged, her eyes were often red from crying. One afternoon, about a week after our return, I picked up her phone to pass it to her when a text notification appeared on the screen. "Need to see you again. Please call me. Jay." "Who is Jay?" I asked, unable to contain my concern any longer. Amanda froze, then slowly took the phone from my hand. "Just an old friend. A friend who needs to see you again. Why are you being so secretive?" After a long moment of silence, she sighed. "It is Jackson, my ex." My stomach dropped. "You are in contact with your ex during our honeymoon, during our first week of marriage. It is not what you think," she said quickly. "He is going through something difficult right now. He reached out because he needs support. And that has to come from you, his ex-girlfriend who just got married." My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "You do not understand. It is complicated." "Then help me understand, because right now I feel like there is something huge you are keeping from me." Amanda rubbed her temples. "He is just having a hard time. We were together for 5 years, Charles. I cannot just ignore him when he needs help. I tried to be understanding. I get that you care about him as a person. But there are boundaries in marriage, Amanda. And secretive calls and texts to an ex cross those boundaries." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "I know. I am sorry. I should have been honest with you. I promise there is nothing romantic happening. He just needs a friend right now." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. So I nodded and suggested we move forward with better communication. But the knot in my stomach would not go away. Especially when I noticed her crying more frequently when she thought I was not looking. The following Monday, I came home from work early, planning to surprise Amanda with flowers and take her out to dinner. We needed to reconnect and strengthen our new marriage. But when I opened our front door, I heard voices in the living room. Amanda was sitting on the couch next to a man I had never seen before. He was thin, almost gaunt, with hollow cheeks that contrasted with his otherwise handsome features. His skin had an unhealthy pallor to it. They were speaking in hushed tones, and Amanda was holding his hand. They both looked up when I entered. Amanda quickly stood, dropping his hand. "Charles, you are home early." Her voice was tight with surprise and something else. "Guilt, clearly," I replied, my eyes fixed on the stranger. "This is Jackson," she said. "He came by too." To pick up some old books of his I still had. I looked around but saw no books. Jackson stood and extended his hand. I shook it automatically, noting how frail his grip felt. "Nice to meet you, Charles," he said. "Amanda has told me a lot about you. Funny she has not mentioned you were back in touch until I saw your texts," I replied coolly. An awkward silence filled the room. Jackson glanced at Amanda, then back at me. "I should go," he said. "Thanks for the talk, Amanda. And congratulations on your marriage. Charles seems like a good guy." After he left, I turned to Amanda. "What the hell is going on? And do not tell me he came for books." Amanda sank back onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. When she looked up, tears were streaming down her face. "I did not want to tell you like this," she began. "Jackson is sick. Really sick. Sick how I demanded. He has brain cancer. Stage 4. The doctors gave him 3 to 6 months to live." Her voice broke. "He found out right before our wedding. I felt a twinge of sympathy, but it was overwhelmed by confusion and hurt. And he decided to contact you, his ex, right when you were getting married. He did not know about the wedding until after he got the diagnosis," she explained. "We have mutual friends. When he found out, he felt like he needed to talk to me." "Why you specifically?" I pressed. Amanda hesitated. "Because we have history. Because he trusts me. And you could not tell me this. Why all the secrecy? I did not want to ruin our honeymoon," she said softly. "I thought I could handle it myself. Just be there for him as a friend. But then I saw him today, and he looks so much worse than I expected. The treatments are not working." I paced the room trying to process this information. "I am sorry he is sick. Truly. But I do not understand why this has turned into secret meetings and phone calls. Why you have been acting like what, Charles? Like you are having an affair," I finished. "It is not an affair," she said firmly. "But there is more you need to know. That night was the longest of my life. Amanda and I stayed up until dawn as she revealed the full story of her relationship with Jackson and his terminal diagnosis. We sat in our living room, the room where just hours earlier I had found them together, and she told me everything. Jackson has glioblastoma," she explained, her voice clinical, as if distancing herself from the emotional reality. "It is the most aggressive type of brain cancer. By the time they found it, it had already spread too much for surgery to be effective. The radiation and chemotherapy are just buying time now." "I am sorry," I said, and I meant it. "No one deserves that kind of suffering. But I still do not understand why you have been so secretive." Amanda twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit she had developed since we got married. "Jackson and I were together for 5 years. We had planned to get married. This was new information. She had never mentioned engagement plans with him before. You were engaged, not officially. But we had talked about it. We had even looked at rings." She swallowed hard. "Then we broke up because we wanted different futures. He wanted to stay in our hometown, take over his family business. I wanted to move here, build my design career." I nodded. "This much I knew. What I never told you is that it was the hardest decision of my life," she continued. "I loved him deeply, but I knew if I stayed, I would resent him eventually for holding me back." A cold feeling spread through my chest. "Are you saying you still love him?" Amanda looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Love does not just disappear, Charles. I moved on. I fell in love with you. I married you. But yes, there will always be a part of me that cares for him. And now that he is dying, I could barely get the words out." She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. When she finally looked up, her expression broke my heart. "He asked me to fulfill a promise we made years ago," she whispered. "We always said that if either of us was ever dying, we would spend those last days together. It was a silly romantic notion. We never thought." "He asked you what exactly?" My voice was hard now, steeling myself for what was coming. "He wants me to be with him for whatever time he has left," she said. "To help him through the end. Be with him how I demanded. As his nurse, his friend, his girlfriend, as his companion," she replied. "To help him complete his bucket list. To make memories in the time he has left. And our marriage. What about the vows we just made? In sickness and in health. Remember, those were for us, not for you and your ex." Amanda looked at me with pleading eyes. "Charles, I am asking if we can put our marriage on pause. Just for a few months. Just until he dies." I could not believe what I was hearing. You want to pause our 2-week-old marriage so you can play pretend with your dying ex-boyfriend. It is not like that, she protested. I am not abandoning you forever. I just need to do this. I will never forgive myself if I do not. And what about my forgiveness, I asked. Do you think I will just be waiting with open arms after you leave me for another man, dying or not? We argued in circles until the sun came up. She insisted she was not choosing Jackson over me, just fulfilling a moral obligation. I maintained that her first loyalty should be to her husband, to our new marriage. We were at an impasse, both of us too emotional and exhausted to find middle ground. When I woke up the next morning, having finally fallen asleep on the couch, I found Amanda in our bedroom packing a suitcase. What are you doing? I asked, though I already knew the answer. I need to do this, she said without looking at me. I am so sorry, Charles. I love you. I will come back when it is over. I promise. If you walk out that door, there might not be anything to come back to, I warned. She paused, her hand on a folded sweater. Are you saying you would divorce me? I am saying I cannot guarantee what will be left of us if you choose him now. Amanda closed the suitcase slowly. I hope you will understand someday. This is not about choosing him over you. This is about honoring a promise and being there for someone who has no one else. He has family, friends. He does not need my wife. My voice cracked on the last word. His parents are both gone. His sister lives overseas. Most of his friends have moved away. She picked up the suitcase. I will call you in a few days once I am settled. And just like that, 2 weeks after saying I do, I watched my wife walk out of our home to be with another man. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the empty house like a final gavel coming down on our marriage. I called in sick to work and spent the day in a daze. By evening, I could not bear to be alone in our house anymore. I called my friend Thomas, who came over immediately after hearing the bizarre situation. She did what Thomas was incredulous. That has got to be the craziest thing I have ever heard. Tell me about it, I muttered, pouring us both another drink. What are you going to do? I shook my head. I have no idea. I feel like I am living in some twisted reality show. Who leaves their husband for their dying ex 2 weeks after the wedding? Thomas stayed over that night, setting up on my couch to make sure I was okay. The next morning, he helped me pack some essentials to stay at his place for a while. I could not bear to sleep in our bed alone. When I told my family what happened, their reactions ranged from shock to fury. My sister Sarah wanted to drive to Jackson's apartment and drag Amanda back. My parents were more measured, suggesting marriage counseling once Amanda came to her senses. But the days turned into weeks with only brief, awkward phone calls from Amanda. She would give me updates on Jackson's condition, which was deteriorating rapidly, and assure me that she still loved me. But she would not come home. Am I wrong for not being able to accept this? I asked my sister during one of our talks. Am I a terrible person for not supporting my wife while she comforts her dying ex? Are you kidding me? Sarah replied. Charles, you are a saint for even taking her calls. Most men would have changed the locks and filed for divorce already, but I could not bring myself to take such definitive action. Despite everything, I still loved Amanda, and some small part of me understood her impulse to be there for someone she once loved who was now dying. But understanding did not ease the pain or stop me from feeling betrayed and abandoned. After 2 weeks of sleepless nights and circular thoughts, I decided I needed closure one way or another. I found out from mutual friends where Jackson lived and drove there one evening after work. My heart pounded as I knocked on the door of the small apartment. Amanda opened it, looking surprised and immediately guilty. Charles, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Properly, not over the phone. I stepped forward. Can I come in? She hesitated, then nodded, opening the door wider. The apartment was small, but neat. Medical equipment was set up in one corner of the living room, an oxygen tank, a hospital-style bed, various monitors. Jackson was not there. He is resting, Amanda explained, following my gaze. The new medication makes him sleep a lot. How is he? I asked, surprised by my own genuine concern. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. Not good. The doctor says it might be weeks now, not months. I nodded, unsure what to say. Part of me felt sympathy for what she was going through, witnessing someone waste away. Another part felt resentful that this situation had stolen my new wife, and possibly my marriage. Amanda, we need to talk about us, I finally said. This limbo we are in is killing me. I know, she replied. It is not fair to you. None of this is. Then come home, I pleaded. We can support Jackson together. I can help you care for him, but I cannot accept being put on a shelf while you live here with him. It is not that simple, she said, glancing toward what I assumed was the bedroom. He needs me now more than ever. The nights are the worst, the pain, the fear. And what about my needs, I asked. What about our vows to each other? Before she could answer, a weak voice called from the other room. Amanda, is someone here? She gave me an apologetic look and went to check on him. I heard their murmured conversation, and a few minutes later she returned with Jackson, supporting him as he shuffled slowly to the couch. He was even thinner than when I had seen him at our house, his clothes hanging off his frame. A blue bandana covered what I assumed was hair loss from treatments. Charles, he acknowledged me with a nod. I thought I heard your voice. I nodded back, unsure of the proper etiquette for greeting the dying man your wife left you for. I want to say something, Jackson continued, his voice, frail but determined. I never meant to come between you two. When I got my diagnosis, I got scared. And selfish. Jackson, do not, Amanda started, but he held up a hand to stop her. No, he deserves to hear this. He turned back to me. I knew Amanda was getting married. I waited until after your wedding to contact her because I do not know what I thought. That maybe it would be better somehow, less disruptive. I remained silent, letting him continue. I asked her to fulfill a promise we made years ago when we were young and thought we would be together forever. It was unfair of me. I know that now. He coughed, and Amanda quickly got him water. If you are expecting me to absolve you, I cannot do that, I said, when he had recovered. You asked my wife to leave me 2 weeks after our wedding. Whether you are dying or not, that was a selfish request. I know, he admitted, but I am not the only selfish one here. Amanda made her choice too. The three of us sat in uncomfortable silence. I looked at Amanda, who was staring at the floor, tears streaming down her face. I need a decision, I finally said to her. I cannot live like this anymore. Either you come home with me now, and we figure out a way to support Jackson together, or what, she asked, looking up. Or our marriage is over, I said firmly. I will file for divorce. Amanda looked from me to Jackson and back again. Her face crumpled. I cannot choose right now. Please, Charles, just give me more time. In that moment, seeing her torn between us, I realized she had already made her choice, and it was not me. I think you already have chosen, I said quietly, standing up. I will have divorce papers drawn up. Charles, please, she sobbed. Do not do this. Once Jackson is gone, we can start over. Rebuild. I looked at her, this woman I had loved so completely, and felt an overwhelming sadness. That is not how marriage works, Amanda. It is not something you can put on pause when something better or more important comes along. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. I do hope you find peace with your decision. And Jackson, I am truly sorry about your diagnosis. No one deserves that. With that, I walked out feeling simultaneously broken and somehow stronger than I had in weeks. The drive home from Jackson's apartment was surreal. I felt like I was floating outside my body, watching myself navigate traffic while my mind tried to process the end of my marriage. 2 months ago, I had been planning my wedding to the woman I thought was my soulmate. Now, I was planning to file for divorce. The next morning, I contacted a lawyer. The process was surprisingly straightforward for such an emotionally complex situation. Since our marriage had been so brief, and we had no children, the legal dissolution would be relatively simple. We had not even had time to combine our finances completely. As I signed the preliminary paperwork in the lawyer's office, my hand trembled slightly. I was ending a marriage that had barely begun. The weight of that decision pressed down on me, but I knew it was the right choice. I could not be someone's backup plan or second choice. I wrote Amanda a letter to go with the divorce papers, feeling she deserved more than just legal documents after our history together. Amanda, I want you to know that I understand why you felt compelled to be there for Jackson. Compassion is one of the qualities I always loved about you. But marriage requires more than just love. It requires commitment, trust, and placing each other first. By choosing to leave our marriage to fulfill a promise to someone else, you showed me where I stand in your priorities. I deserve to be someone's first choice, not an option they return to when convenient. I will always treasure the good times we had together, but I need to move forward with my life now. I hope in time you will understand why I could not wait for you. I wish you peace during this difficult time. Charles. I had the letter and papers delivered to Jackson's apartment. A few days later, Amanda called me crying. Please reconsider, she begged. I know I hurt you terribly, but I still love you. After Jackson passes, we could try again. Go to counseling. It is too late, I told her, my voice gentle but firm. Some things cannot be undone. Some betrayals cut too deep. It is not a betrayal, she insisted. I am not sleeping with him. I am caring for him while he dies. The betrayal was not physical, Amanda. It was choosing to abandon our marriage. It was making a unilateral decision that affected both of us without being willing to compromise. She was silent for a long moment. I will not sign the papers. Not yet. That is your choice, I replied. But it will not change mine. The following weeks were a blur. I moved back into our house, but could not bear to sleep in our bedroom. I converted the office into a temporary sleeping space and threw myself into work. My boss was understanding when I explained the situation and gave me some challenging projects to focus my energy on. Thomas and my sister Sarah became my support system. They took turns checking on me, bringing food and forcing me to leave the house occasionally. Sarah even signed me up for a support group for people going through divorce. You need to talk to people who understand what you are going through, she insisted, and not just me and Thomas. I was skeptical, but I went to a meeting. Sitting in a circle of strangers listening to their stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and eventual healing, I found an unexpected comfort. These people understood the unique pain of a marriage ending. They did not judge me for feeling both grief and relief, anger and compassion. The hardest part, said one man in his 50s, is learning to build a new identity. When you are married, you are part of a unit. Now you need to rediscover who you are on your own. His words resonated with me. In the short time Amanda and I had been married, I had fully embraced my identity as a husband. Now I needed to figure out who Charles was on his own again. I started small. I enrolled in an MBA program I had been considering for years but had put off to focus on my relationship. I joined a rock climbing gym, something Amanda had never been interested in, but I had always wanted to try. I reconnected with old friends who had fallen by the wayside during the intensity of wedding planning. Each day was still difficult. I would wake up reaching for Amanda only to remember she was gone. I would see something funny and instinctively want to text her about it. The muscle memory of love took time to reprogram. But slowly, very slowly, I began to heal. I found moments of genuine joy again. My world, which had shrunk to the size of my pain, gradually expanded back outward. I discovered strengths in myself I never knew existed. 6 months after Amanda walked out of our home, I received a text message from her that simply said, "Jackson passed away last night. The funeral is on Saturday." I sat with that information, unsure how to feel. I sent back a simple response, "I am sorry for your loss. Take care of yourself." 3 days later, after the funeral, Amanda called and asked if we could meet. I agreed to see her at a coffee shop near my office. When I arrived, she was already there, dressed in a simple black dress, her face pale and drawn from grief and exhaustion. "Thank you for coming," she said as I sat across from her. "I was not sure you would." "How are you holding up?" I asked. She shrugged slightly. "As well as can be expected. The last few weeks were difficult." But he was not in pain at the end. I nodded, unsure what to say. This woman had once been the center of my world, and now she felt like a familiar stranger. "Charles I owe you an apology," she said finally. "What I did was wrong. I see that now. I was so caught up in fulfilling my promise to Jackson and easing his passing that I completely disregarded our vows and your feelings. Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I appreciate your apology." "The divorce papers," she began hesitantly. "I have not signed them yet. I was hoping now that Jackson is gone, we might be able to talk about trying again." I looked at her, really looked at her. Despite everything, there was still a pull there, an echo of the love we had shared. But I knew now it was not enough. "I cannot do that, Amanda," I said gently. "Too much has happened. Too much trust has been broken. But I love you," she whispered. "I never stopped loving you." "Love is not enough," I explained. "A relationship needs trust, respect, and commitment. When you left, you showed me that our marriage was not your priority. I deserve someone who puts our relationship first, just as you deserve to make the choice you felt was right for you." She wiped away tears. "So this is really the end?" "Yes," I said. "But I do forgive you. I understand why you felt you had to be there for Jackson. I just could not wait in the wings while you lived another life." We talked for another hour, processing our shared grief for what might have been. There was no anger anymore, just acceptance and a bittersweet acknowledgement of the past we had shared. When we finally said goodbye, I hugged her and genuinely wished her well. Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For months I had been carrying around the uncertainty, the hurt, and the lingering hope that somehow things might work out. Now, I had closure. Now I could truly move forward. The greatest lesson I learned from this painful chapter was about self-worth and boundaries. Loving someone does not mean sacrificing your dignity or accepting a place in their life that diminishes you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do both for yourself and for the other person is to walk away. I also learned that healing is not linear. There would still be days when the pain felt fresh, when memories ambushed me, when I questioned my decisions. But those days grew fewer and farther between. And in between them were days of joy, growth, and new possibilities. So if you are going through something similar, remember this: your worth is not determined by someone else's ability to see it. You deserve to be someone's priority, not their backup plan. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that once meant everything to you. What difficult choices have you had to make in relationships? Have you ever had to choose between your own well-being and supporting someone else? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And remember, even the deepest wounds eventually heal with time.